Okay, we can get to that spark plug right here in the front. Pretty easy, but since we already have one mouse nest, I think it'd probably be a good idea to go ahead and pull this cover off. Went ahead and pull the hood off. We'll go ahead and pull this cover off, make sure the engine fins and stuff are clean. If those get full of mice nests and leaves and grass and stuff, then your engine can overheat. So we'll go ahead and pull this cover off and just first one was a little tight, which hopefully doesn't mean somebody's been in there before. Yeah, that was probably a good call. As you can see, we've got quite a mess in here, so we'll get all that cleaned up and we will come back to this in just a second. Alright, we got this cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and pull this spark plug boot off. And the other part of this video, I had mentioned handy little tool, and I called it a spark plug puller, but it's not a spark plug puller. They're hose pullers, these things right here, but they work great in cars and pickups and stuff to grab these boots and to pull them off. But that's not what their intended purpose. They're hose pullers. But let's go ahead and throw a spark checker on this real quick and just see if we're getting any spark. Make sure we can get that on camera. So, looks like we're getting good spark though. That shouldn't be any kind of an issue, so I think we'll go ahead and get into this carburetor. So, let me get you set up for that and I'll bring you back in a minute. Alright, let's go ahead and get this off here. Now hopefully the gasket behind this and the gasket between the carburetor and the engine are not too brittle and we don't have to worry about that. But there's going to be your valves here. You'll pull that off. Go ahead and pull this. Okay, we'll just set that out of the way. All right. Looks like your gasket's going to be okay there. So we're not going to take that gasket off. We're going to leave it just the way it is. Almost looks like this has been hit before. This post is a little bit out of line. I'm going to pinch this fuel line off and pull that hose. All right, let's see if we can get that out of there. Yeah, that's not right. Try to be careful and not mess that stud up too bad. There we go. Okay, yeah, you can see. Let me zoom out a little bit. You can see right here, we've got a little crack in that wing. You know, it's still pretty solid. I don't feel like it's given, so we'll probably just leave that. Make sure we can get things running. We'll go ahead and get this carburetor cleaned and reassemble it. Make sure this is going to run. If it looks like there's going to be any problems with it, then we may end up ordering another carburetor for it, but I just don't see too many problems at this juncture. So let's go ahead and get these connections off first. Okay, so go ahead and disassemble this and we will get it into the parts cleaner and we'll see how bad it is. It may be okay, may not be, but I think we need to probably go ahead and get her cleaned up. This is definitely not good here. These are supposed to move and they are tight. Well, actually, we just broke that off, so looks like we're going to be ordering a new carb for this, unless that can go back on. So let me get you set up for that, and we'll take a look at this carburetor. All right. First thing we need to do is, well, before I get going too far, yeah, I did shear that off, so I'm going to have to order a new carburetor, but you know, it's probably not a bad idea anyways with this wing here being cracked. You know, these aren't too terribly expensive anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. I'll give it some better light over here. But we'll go ahead and just take a look at this anyways and see just kind of, you know, how bad it is on the inside. Like I said, it's probably been sitting for a couple of years, at least. I don't think we'll be able to salvage that gasket. It's pretty dry. Yeah. So the first thing we need to do is we need to take this bowl off. Problem with these kind of carburetors with this shut off is getting to, there is a it's not really a nut, but it's built into this shut off, but it's got two flat sides on it, and it makes it really hard to get a wrench in here. They don't fit, so I have a little wrench that I have ground down on both sides to just make it thinner, and that usually allows me to get in here, to crack that open. So this piece right here we'll go ahead and keep. This is going to be your shut off. The way this works is when power is brought to this, it pushes this plunger and it activates that float inside, so it basically blocks off that float from letting fuel into the engine and continuing to run, so it'll shut your engine off. That came off relatively easy. Now, it's dry on the inside, which is good, but it's definitely filled with dirt and junk. So also the gasket on here that joins the two is really dried out, brittle, tough. So probably wouldn't be able to reuse that anyways. You can kind of put these in some hot water and kind of soften them up a little bit and sometimes get some life back out of them, but this one looks like it's a little too far gone. So go ahead and keep this bowl. It doesn't look too bad. Here's your float. The way that works is whenever the bowl fills with fuel, it will push this float up. When there's not any fuel in here, it will go down. So you shut the key off, gas stops coming into the bowl, this comes down, it stops. There's a needle and seat here, and it stops the flow of fuel into the carburetor and shuts the engine off. Or it doesn't allow the engine to continue to run. So let's go ahead and pull the pin out of that. See if we can get some needle nose here. It's pretty tight in there. I've got a nail that I've ground down just for this. I'm not too worried about this carburetor because we're going to be getting a new one for it. We'll go ahead and save that pin as well. All right. So this is the part right here that goes up inside the carburetor that stops the fuel from being transferred from the bowl into the carburetor. And actually that one's not in too bad a shape, so nothing a parts cleaner wouldn't clean up, but we'll save that. Float looks like it's in good condition, we'll save that. Alright, so let's see if we can look at these jets to see if they're removable or not. No, that main jet doesn't look like it is removable. see any. Oh, there's one. There's one removable jet coming. It's coming off the main trunk, coming down. And you want to be able to see through it, which you can. This one's not too dirty or anything. We'll save that as well. You can kind of see here at the end of this jet or tube, it's pretty corroded. That's just from sitting in some fuel for a while and not being used. Could also be from using ethanol fuel as well. Not really sure, but these valves should be moving, and they're really tight. They definitely need some work to loosen up. That main jet in the middle actually may come out. It doesn't have a screw. A lot of times they screw in from this way. That one doesn't have any slots for a screwdriver, so it may come out. It's, like I said, it is. These valves are tight. They're not moving at all. So that's probably about as far as I'm going to go with this. We'll go ahead and order a new one, and we'll just look at the numbers on the side of this. Make sure we get the right one, and we'll come with some new gaskets, and everything will work properly. And we'll put that on there. And looks like we're going to be making a part 2 on this mower. But we got spark. We have power going to the starter. So as long as we can get some fuel into the engine, into the pistons, more than likely we'll be okay. Unless there is something going on with the head gasket, but it feels like it has plenty of compression. I don't see a whole bunch of oil leaking anywhere around the block, so hopefully it's just it was just some chewed wires and a bad carburetor. But we'll get a new carburetor in. Once we get that in, we'll go ahead and install it. Put a little gas to it and see if it'll fire off, and then we'll keep going from there. If not, we'll start exploring what went wrong and why it doesn't want to fire, and see if we can fix that problem. But other than that, we will pick this video up as soon as I get that carburetor in. Alright, well, we got a box, so let's go ahead and open it. It's going to be our carburetor. And another thing that was no good on that air cleaner was the air filter. And went in and ordered a new air filter. Well, it was a kit. I believe it came with a air filter and I think maybe even a fuel filter. But it should have everything we need. It's back in business. Alright, so it's going to be the new air filter. The pre-filter there. So we're good on that. And let's check out the carburetor. Oh, it even came with a spark plug. So, a new fuel filter. Got a shut-off valve, which currently it doesn't have a shut-off valve. So, hose clamps. Will be the new carburetor. Another hose clamp. Your gaskets. And new wiring for your shutoff. So, I think that kit with everything was about 26 bucks, give or take a few cents. So, this is the way this choke is supposed to be working. That other one was just seized up so bad it wouldn't even turn. So, we're in a lot better shape on this one. Also, actually, yeah, the previous one, the little wing on the side was really kind of cracked and bent. Let's see if I can find that previous one. I may have already thrown it in the dumpster. Yeah, I've already thrown it out, but if I remember right, the previous one, the wings were a lot thinner. They were only, quarter inch maybe. These are quite a bit thicker. So, let me get you set up and we'll go ahead and start installing this. All right, that old carburetor, or the new carburetor, came with a new power supply for the shutoff on the bottom of the CARB, but this one seems to be working fine. I don't really see any reason to replace it. And like I said, the motor's only got 90 something hours on it, so it's not too imperative that we replace that. Why fix something that's not broke? So we'll go ahead and put this gasket on first. Then we'll go ahead and thread our governor and throttle. Look how that plugs. Do that. Feels pretty solid there, that wire. Okay. Get the other gasket. Now before we put the air cleaner housing back on, let's go ahead and take a look at this gas supply line. We got a new fuel filter, and we also have a fuel shutoff. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put that fuel shutoff about right here, and then we'll disconnect those. Not too terribly worried about breaking that fuel filter, because we're going to put a brand new one on. Another way you can make this a little easier, kind of throw some heat on this tube, but I don't want to do that right now. All right. And there's some junk inside that, so right here it's going to be where it settled. Outside's pretty dirty, but so looks like there's some more stuff right here too. So we'll throw that out. We need to split this hose. We need to split that hose. Probably right in this area, and put that fuel shutoff in there. You don't want to put it too far back to where you can't get to it. And before we put the shutoff, we need to put our new hose clamps on. There's a, I don't know if you can see it, but there's an arrow here, shows you your fuel flow direction, so we want to make sure that's in the proper orientation. So when you flip around like that. Alright, on this fuel filter, there's also an arrow for the fuel direction. So whenever you put those on, you want to make sure you have that oriented properly as well. Okay, so that takes care of our fuel line. We have a fuel shutoff and a new carburetor. I did check the fuel tank and blew some compressed air through it. There didn't seem to be too much in there. There was just a little bit of dust at the bottom. Luckily, there wasn't any gas that looked like it had been left in it for a long period of time. So, we should be able to put that air cleaner back on. And actually, before we do that, we can probably put a little fuel in here. Just see if it'll kick off. Alright, I went ahead and put some gas in the gas tank and turn the fuel line on. I'm pretty confident this motor's going to run. I don't see any real big issues, so I didn't dribble any fuel into the carburetor. We're just going to go ahead and run it like it's supposed to. Cat's probably going to freak out, but let's see what it does. Seems to be running pretty good. So I call that a win. once we get the air cleaner back on and it's pulling the pressure that it normally would with the air filter and everything, I think it will be a little bit better at full throttle. So let's go ahead and get that all buttoned back up, and we will check that, how that engine is going to run, and after that we can change the oil, start working on that deck a little bit more and get it squared away. We also need to check to see if the hydraulics are going to be working, but we'll move on to that here in a few minutes. All right, what do you say we start looking at that mower deck? Just kind of take a look, see what's going on with it. Haven't really looked at it too much, but the only thing I did notice is some of the belts were off, but I went ahead and pulled that bagging system off, and while I was doing that I did notice the belts were off. Haven't really looked to see if the blades are good or spindles or anything like that, but we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Right down here, yeah, you got a belt that's off. That spindle feels pretty good. I did notice there's not very many hours on this thing. Let's see if I can get 91 hours. So this hasn't been used very much, so that's good. Hopefully that translates into, you know, good spindles, maybe even a decent belt. All right, the first thing we need to do to get this deck off is remove the belts from everything, and which we've already got those off. Those were already off, so we'll just unloop that. Okay, there's a bracket here I'm going to have to drop. We'll do that here in just a second. But we've got a couple of pins here. We need to pull those pins. That'll release that support bracket that lowers it up and down, and we'll do that on both sides. Then we should be able to pull this bracket here, right here. We'll have to pull it down so that way we can get that belt off of there. So let's get off those clips real quick. Okay, those are both off. Now we need to get this bracket right here off. And there. There we go. one more pin to pull for the front. Get out of here, cat. And then this is going to be the cable that runs to your, it's called a PTO lever, but it's not really PTO. It's just going to be your blade engagement. And all it does is it tightens this pulley system around your main pulley and it engages your blades. And just pop that off in there. Like that. All right, so doesn't look too bad at the moment. The chute is in need of repair. Looks like the bracket right here has broken from the main piece, so probably weld that together easily enough. Here's your brake. Looks okay. It doesn't do a whole lot, just kind of stops those blades from turning, so. Spindles all feel okay. Let's get these this belt off. Take a little better look at those spindles. Well, the belt looks like it's in decent shape. I don't feel any tears in it, which I wouldn't expect it to be in horrible shape for as many hours as on it. There's a little bit of fraying right there, but it looks like where the belt was joined. So, good, we'll salvage that. Kind of worried about this spindle here, but the brake is on, so no, feels good. All the spindles feel nice and loose. All your mounting points are solid. Doesn't look like any of them need any welding, so let's go ahead and flip it over and see what the other side looks like. Pretty much what I expected. A lot of rust. Been sitting outside for a while, but it's not cake full of stuff, so that's good. Might just shoot some Rust-Oleum on that, kind of stop that rust from continuing. Go ahead and pull those blades off and take a look at those. All right, we'll get back to this in a minute. We're gonna go ahead and put some rust-resistant spray paint just to get it a coating. We don't need to make it look pretty or anything. Just have to knock the dust or the rust off and blow out the dust, and then just give it a coat, and we should be good to go for some blades. Went ahead and masked those spindles off. Probably didn't really need to, but I just thought it'd look a little bit better. Anyways, just use a little piece of cardboard, and I've got some Krylon paint and primer, maximum protection against rust. It's paint and primer. It's just going to be something to kind of coat this bottom and keep it from rusting anymore. Won't last forever, but give it a little bit more protection. So we'll go ahead and just give this a little coat here. Alright, we'll let that dry, and take a look at that other side, see about that bracket that's broke, and we'll go about getting some blades sharpened or replaced. Alright, these are the old blades, and the more I look at them, looks like they've hit some things, and both ends are pretty bad. You know, pretty rusty, but the rust isn't too big of a deal. But having that much meat taken out of them and stuff, you know, we're kind of right on that edge for me. I would probably go ahead and say let's replace them. I checked in my part stash that I've got and had some replacement blades. They're the same blades, both high lift blades. These are in quite a bit better condition, so I think what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and sharpen these and throw these on there. So, alright, let's get these blades back on. I've got them sharpened and balanced. About the only thing you need to remember on these blades is you want to make sure you don't put them on upside down. Also, depending on the brand of mower you have, the spindle ends take a specific type of blade. And these right here have a kind of a star pattern. Looks like 6 lobes on this one. There's another brand out there that's got like 5 lobes. There's some that are just a circle. And then they've got these 2 punched out pieces here for that are received in a place. Those generally are more for your single blade mowers, your push mowers and stuff like that. So, like I said, you always want to make sure you get these on the right side up and then the bottom side down. And generally they're going to be stamped. On this one, it says right here, bottom. So that'll be going towards the grass. Just remember your deck is upside down right now, but that'll go towards the grass. And there are different types of blades for different types of applications, depending on what you're going to do. These are high lift blades. These are more for using your bagger system or out the chute. You can have mulching blades and stuff like that if you have a plug and you want to mulch your grass. I personally like to mulch my grass. puts the grass back in on the ground and decomposes, and more of a natural fertilizer. Plus, I don't have to deal with bags and emptying them and everything else. Only problem with mulching is you got to mow a little bit more often. If you let it get too tall and it starts clumping up on you, and it's hard on your mower. So watch out for the noise. All right, let's flip this over and we'll take a look at what we need to do next on this deck here. Get you set up here where we're looking. So this bracket right here has broken away from the main portion of the bracket. So we got a couple of options. We can try to tack weld that right there, or we can go ahead and remove that chute and the bracket and everything, and see if we can tack weld it in a vise. I would probably be more leaning towards welding it in the vise. That spring is going to want to move around on us, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this off and see if I can get set up to tack that in the vise. Alright, let's see if we can throw some couple tacks on this, and that spot is right there where that's broke, and then again on the other side. So we'll tack right here and see if we can get a good hold on it, then we'll flip it around. That looks pretty good. I don't even think we need to really do any grinding on it. Pull that out of there. Yeah, I think that'll do just fine for now. We'll get this reassembled and put back on. Okay, got the chute reattached. And you can see our welding job right here. Everything's back on and functions like it's supposed to now. So, looks like that's going to be it for the mower deck. We'll get that put back together. Then we will hook the belt back up to it and we'll give it a test. Let me get you set up for that.